All right, well, welcome everyone. You are at the Elevate Your Employability Through Study Abroad session. We will introduce ourselves in a little bit, but my name is Ellie Vogt. I go by she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm a Global Seminars coordinator in the Study Abroad office. All right. So just take a second to please check in. I think Madigan, for students to check in through Handshake. I think she's going to send a link in the chat for students to quickly check in so that we can make note of who is here today.
Yeah, let me know if that link is working for you all. Just send me a quick note in the chat if it's not working, and I'll send a new one.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so here is today's agenda. We're just going to go a bit about us, and then we're going to talk about the benefits and the value of study abroad, and then career-related outcomes, internship opportunities, communicating your value, and then next steps. So the presenters today, I'll let Kim introduce herself. She's one of the presenters.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Burton. I'm not study abroad UCSD, as it says on the screen. And so it's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. And I oversee the UC Education Abroad program for the campus. So happy to be here.
And my name is Madigan Turnquist. I use she, her pronouns. I work in the main campus career center, specifically supporting social science students, but meet with students across majors. So thanks for having me.
And then you'll let Madigan start with her. Bye.
Yeah, absolutely. I am seeing in the chat that the check-in link is not working. So we will hold off on that in a minute. I'll go through my slides, and then when I pass it over, I'll try to check on that again. I know I've had some students say in the past it says they don't have access, but just clicking on the link itself checks you in. So let me see if that's happening, and I'll get back to you all in the chat. So I just wanted to talk through, first of all, for folks either considering a global experience or folks that have already been on a global experience, right? So some of you might be considering study abroad, some of you might be recently back from study abroad. Just talking through some of the benefits of the global experience. If you've already been on study abroad, you probably know some of the benefits, both personal and professional, but some to really highlight your employability and why employers might really value your experience. Right, study abroad can really broaden your understanding of your academic discipline, depending on kind of the specialization of what you're studying, and increase career opportunities, improving cognitive skills, so problem solving and analytical ability, sometimes just navigating transportation in a foreign place, like that in itself. I always tell people I used to think I couldn't do things until I was in a situation abroad where I had to, and then you figure it out, right? And that sort of adaptability and ability to figure things out quickly, employers really love that, it turns out. With sharpening of interpersonal and communication skills, so communicating maybe across culture, maybe even across language barriers, increased tolerance for ambiguity and adaptability. This was actually one of the top things that employers valued in 2022, became even more important as the pandemic hit, that employers we need employees that know how to go with the flow, right? We're changing things, we're rerouting, and we have to be, ready for whatever happens. And so really being adaptable to new environments and being able to change quickly, super valuable to employers as something that you can talk about. Fosters global citizenship and global competency, of course. And we'll talk about the career competencies at UC San Diego, but global competency is one of them. So having a more global understanding than just what's happening in the US. Language acquisition, intercultural competency skills again, and just wanted to point out, I know that 2008 is a while ago, but almost 94% of alumni agreed or strongly agreed that the cross-cultural skills they learned abroad were professionally valuable. So we're going to talk about not only why they're valuable, but how to talk about them to an employer so that you can showcase the value of some of those skills. Okay, so these are the UC San Diego competencies. Where these are drawn from is from NACE. So this is the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and it's a nationwide basically survey that goes out to employers every year asking, what are the things that you value most in recent graduates? So when those recruiters are looking for those entry-level hires, they're saying, what are the skills that across all industry areas that you think are most valuable for students to have by the time they graduate? And these are the 12 of them that they've identified. So you can see career development, that's kind of being able to navigate your own career. Quick plug for the Career Center, right? If you haven't been yet, Career Center is a great place to start working on your own career development. Civic engagement and social responsibility, right? So kind of recognizing like, what are the problems in the world that need solving? How do I want to contribute? I think having experiences abroad can really contribute to that. Critical thinking and problem solving, right? So we already talked about some of the larger ways and smaller ways that just being in a new environment sharpens your thinking skills, your ability to critically think about how to problem solve. Digital information fluency, innovation, entrepreneurial thinking, leadership for sure. Leadership doesn't always mean being in a leadership position, right? Leadership means being able to have influence over others. So that can be practiced in a variety of titles and that kind of thing. Oral, written, and digital communication, professional integrity, researchability, self-reflection. So really having a good idea of like, how am I showing up, right? Maybe that's going abroad and recognizing privilege for the first time, right? Or being maybe not a percentage majority for the first time. And how does that impact your self-reflection? Teamwork, you can see specifically the word cross-cultural collaboration. So not just collaborating with others, but collaborating with others who might have a different cultural background than you. And then lastly, that big one, understanding global context. So this is just like research-backed by employers. Employers are looking for these skills. Some of them kind of obviously tie with experiences abroad, and some of them a little bit more nuanced, but absolutely most of these can be related or enhanced through a study abroad experience. Okay, and then I'll let you all read these statistics, but maybe just for anyone just listening, I will read them aloud. Some career-related outcomes from a survey here. 89% say study abroad and improved communication skills. 87% say study abroad helped them develop problem-solving skills. 94% say study abroad increased their confidence. 90% say study abroad developed their interpersonal skills. 94% say study abroad increased their ability to adapt to changing situations. So those are some pretty high numbers, right? And something else, to think about with study abroad is it can be one of those experiences where you get out what you put into it, right? So if you are really putting yourself in those environments where you're like, I'm going to make myself uncomfortable on purpose, right? I'm going to challenge myself through this experience. You are going to get more skills out of that than, if you just kind of go along for the ride and see what happens. Not to say that's a bad way to do it either, and just kind of be open, but definitely be thinking before you go about like, what are the skills that I maybe intentionally want to develop through this experience. All right, I'll pass it off.
Thanks, Madigan. I appreciate it. So for those of you who are looking for opportunities to study abroad and exploring, I'm just going to briefly outline the opportunities that we have for students to study abroad. So the University of California Education Abroad Program, or UCEAP for short, is open to students of all the UC undergraduate campuses. And UCEAP offers programs around the world, as you can see, many international partners, and programs are offered during the summer semester. There are some quarter-long programs and also academic year-long program options. So a huge variety. There are programs where you can go and study a language intensively if you'd like to do that. There are programs where you can go and actually be immersed in a university in a different country. There are programs at what we call the university centers, where you would have some language study, but also some courses about that country and culture taught in English. So there's a whole variety of programs. Another thing that EAP offers in a number of programs is internship and research opportunities. So particularly for those of you in the STEM fields, those research options are really attractive to students. And then internship options for all students exist if you're also looking for some practical experience along with academic coursework. For EAP, you pay your regular UC tuition to the University of California. Obviously, you pay the rest of your expenses. And we'll talk about financial aid, but financial aid can be applied to UC Education Abroad programs. So really are many programs for you to choose from. A lot of summer and fall deadlines are coming up right now, but you haven't missed many. So if you're looking still for something to do in 2023, take a look at the website and come and see us. Next slide, please, Ellie, which I think is you.
Great. Yes. Thank you, Kim. All right. The next study abroad opportunity that we're going to discuss today is global seminars. And this is the team that I specifically work in. And so what's great about global seminars is that they're UCSD courses taught abroad in the summer. So every program is there are 2 courses, which a total of 8 units. There is 1 week, a 5-week summer session, or there are 5-week summer sessions, and there's one that's 8 weeks, and that's an internship. So there's only one special exception to the rule, which is the internship, but the rest are 5 weeks, and it's either in summer session 1 or summer session 2. And they're small class sizes, so each program it's only going to be from 15 to 28 students. So it's a really great opportunity to not only get to know the cohort of your students, but also your professor as well, and their UCSD faculty taught, and throughout different academic departments. So no matter what your academic interests are, there's a lot of global seminar programs that align with the different academic departments and classes, and also some of your college requirements. So this is a really great way to stay on track academically and complete your requirements, since they're UCSD classes and you don't really have to worry about petitioning unless you're trying to have a course count for something else. And these are very intentional programming. There's a diverse and unique course offerings. If you look through our website, they're really just great, interesting programs and a lot of community involvement, really intentionally made. And it's a great way to discover culture through academic interests, because you may travel to a specific country or city that you've never thought to go to before, but it aligns with academic interests of yours, and you'll never know how much you'll end up learning from that country or culture and getting to experience something that you might not have thought of before. And so actually right now the applications are open for summer 2023. There are 2 programs that are full, but the rest we're still accepting applications. The big deadline is March 1st. But we have an early bird deadline for February 1st, which you could win a voucher for $250 towards your flight through Student Universe. And then the next slide, I think, is Kim.
That's right. Thanks, Ellie. More opportunities for students who are looking. We also have what we call the Opportunities Abroad program, and these are programs that are run not by the University of California or by UC San Diego, but by other US universities or other study abroad organizations. And so we do send students on non-UC programs. You can earn transfer credit for the work. You can meet major, minor college gen ed requirements, which you can also do with UC EAP and global seminars. It just gives you more options to choose from, which is really great. And again, with OAP, you have the opportunity to go and study in a classroom elsewhere. But again, they also provide internship, research, and in some cases, volunteer opportunities. So OAP just gives students more opportunity from which to choose. And again, we help you with all of these program offerings, everything from advising to, when you come back from abroad. So we are definitely here to help. Our newest opportunity for students is what we call Global Exchange. And these are exchange agreements between UC San Diego and an institution abroad, a university abroad. So they're specific to UCSD, and you will pay just your UCSD tuition and go abroad to study. A lot of these are coursework, but again, a lot of them do offer the practical experience of research or internships. We are partnering with top global universities around the world. And some of these are specific to certain majors on campus, and others are open to students of all majors. So Global Exchange provides you yet another opportunity to take advantage of these opportunities. And I will say that you do have the option to do 2 or even 3 study abroad programs here at UCSD. So it's not just necessarily one. And we've certainly had students who've done global seminars and then come back and done, say, an EAP program for a semester, or any sort of combination as to how you want to put these together. So if you're looking for a variety of opportunities, we can provide you that. Oh, and on financial aid and scholarships too. So with financial aid, you can see that UCSD financial aid is applicable to all options, to EAP, OAP, global seminars, and global exchange. Actually, so all of the options. There are differences depending on the programs as to whether it's federal, state aid, institutional aid, all of the above. But again, we will help you with that. And as it says at the bottom, we actually have a designated study abroad financial aid advisor. And that's all that Eduardo does, is helping study abroad students with financial aid. So strongly encourage you to reach out to us and we can help connect with him. but it's most of the UC campuses do not have a designated study abroad financial aid advisor, so you're all very lucky. We also help students apply for and win a variety of study abroad scholarships. So some of these are need-based, some are merit, some are a combination. So even if you don't get financial aid, you're still eligible for some of the merit-based awards and vice versa. And again, we help students with scholarship essay writing. Those workshops have started already. Some of the scholarship deadlines are coming up right now. February and March are the big dates. And so again, contact us, let us know how we can help you, because we know funding is one of the major concerns for most students.
Thank you, Kim. And then these are some resources of how to continue your intercultural competency skills that you may have gained or that you will gain when you study abroad and have a global educational experience. So some of these opportunities, you could join an international student organization here on campus. You can find a meaningful way to use and strengthen languages, attend cultural events on campus and in the community. We have wonderful cultural centers here at UCSD. And so we're also happy to share many of these organizations with you once you return and see what options you have of communities to join. You also could choose academic programs and elective courses that will increase your global awareness. So just be really intentional. You can work with your academic and college advisors to see if there's any courses that have the focus on global awareness and global competency in the curriculum. And then also volunteer intern at a culturally based organization. So some of the ones on campus that I discussed above. And then also consider another experience abroad. You could do an internship abroad if you've already done an academically based experience before studying, and that could be a great leeway into an internship. You can also check with the study abroad office for opportunities. We do have a lot of student employees, and this is usually something, I think usually the hiring is around the summer or fall. So if you want to continue working with the study abroad office, you can always check in with us to see if there's any opportunities to stay connected that way. And to look for global work opportunities. Going Global is a great organization that highlights a lot of global opportunities for students and recent grads. And then continue your passion. So you might be very inspired after your international experience, and this can completely shift maybe what your career goals. Personally, I, after study abroad, got a master's in international education. That was not what my undergraduate degree was really focused in. So you really don't know how it's going to impact you. And it's going to open up pathways to international policy and development, especially as a foreign service officer through the Department of State, and international business or education, international research and master's opportunities, global health and STEM opportunities, arts and sociology, and connect with UC alumni who maybe continue their pathway abroad and possibly work abroad or have global focused careers. Really any of the careers or your academic interests and studies now, there is a way to globalize that as our world is globalizing. So there is a way that you can connect your passion of international experiences with your career and academic goals. So if you're ever curious how to do this, please meet with the Study Abroad or the Career Center to further discuss. And this will be Madigan.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll just throw in there too, if folks have questions about anything, feel free to put them in the chat and we can answer them as we go. We don't have to wait until the very end. So it could be about logistics of studying abroad, could be career related, but if you have questions, absolutely put them in the chat. So I just want to talk about communicating your values. So once you've maybe had this experience, and again, some of you may have already, some of you maybe are thinking about it, but how to communicate the value of this experience professionally, right? So multiple places that this could show up throughout your job search and just career. Resume and cover letter, absolutely put your study abroad experience on your resume under your education section. We'll go over that. Talk about it in your cover letter, talk about the skills that you gained from it and how it's made you more of a global citizen or maybe increased awareness around certain issues or made you more passionate about something. There's absolutely a story to be told there. In an elevator pitch, so when you're, meeting with someone, I don't know if everyone knows what an elevator pitch is, but it's basically like a a short summary of you professionally that you could give to someone in the span of an elevator ride with them. So a very quick overview of who you are. This is really valuable if you're meeting with people kind of more quickly or just want to introduce who you are academically and professionally pretty quickly. Great opportunity to say, hey, and I study abroad and here's what I learned from that and how it affected maybe. I'm sure Ellie talks about study abroad all the time when she's interviewing for jobs and how that kind of steered her career path and that kind of thing. And you would be surprised just, talking about networking, how often study abroad is something that people have either shared experience with, they want to hear more about. I kid you not, like in prepping for this presentation, Ellie and I spent a half hour talking about a shared international experience we had that we didn't know we had. And so it was kind of like this point of connection, and you'll find that it's a point of connection with people across industries all over the place. And then in interviews, again, of course, this is another chance for you to share your story, right? To share your skill sets, your strengths, things that you learned. So absolutely, you can talk about study abroad in an interview. Okay, so on your resume, add study abroad to your education experience. So I can show you an example of that right after this, but basically you'll put your main degree. So, Bachelor of Science or Arts in whatever major, University of California, San Diego, and then separately study abroad, where you studied abroad, maybe if there was like a field experience associated with it, but really what the purpose of that study abroad was or what you did. Skills and qualifications. So this is kind of when you're giving the employer maybe like a summary of why you're qualified for a certain position. And if they're asking for, intercultural competency or global perspective, or just ability to work with, diverse folks, absolutely something you can put under skills and qualifications. And then if you did anything outside of coursework abroad, you can also put that in like a project section or an activities section. If you were involved, right? And again, maybe you volunteered while you were abroad, maybe you did some research or some field work while you were abroad. Absolutely. And then if you are kind of going to delve more into it, as you're drafting bullet statements, and this is kind of just resume advice generally, but do start with that action verb, created, impacted, achieved, something kind of strong at the beginning. Talk about the specific responsibilities that you yourself had, and maybe the impact, right? So maybe there was a measurable impact there. If you, let's say you worked on building schools while you were there, right? And you want to say something like how many children did that impact, right? Or what was the budget of this? What was the impact of what you did? So action verb responsibilities and impact can also be understood as action verb situation and then the specific results. You won't have results or impact. You won't have a measurable results or impact all the time. But do at least share the purpose, right? What was kind of the greater purpose in being a part of this? And if you want to go through your resume more one-on-one, that's pretty much what our office is for. I mean, that and many other things, but absolutely know that you don't have to get all of your resume advice just from today. So here's an example of someone including education abroad on their resume. So you can see on the left, they have their BA in psychology, and on the right, they put education abroad program, and then where they studied abroad, and then some relevant coursework that they might have done either abroad or at home. So in the skills and qualifications, you can see work effectively within a team, recognizing diverse personalities and backgrounds. Above that, ability to problem solve with both individual and cultural awareness perspectives. And excellent communication skills, I'm reading backwards. Excellent communication skills obtained through local and international experiences. Those are all really good ways to summarize some of the skill sets you might have gained. And then this person also did an internship, right? A special education internship. So you can see some of their specific, more specific bullet points underneath that experience as well. So you don't have to do all three of these, right? You can pick and choose where it makes sense on your resume, but just to show you that this is something that you can and should include in your resume when it makes sense. Okay. And then for the interview, right? So this is like you're applying for a position, your resume went through, they want to interview you, congratulations. Your kind of task is to prepare to convince the employer that you're the right person for the job. So more generally, right, you want to think of experiences that demonstrate the desired skills and abilities. The job description is your study guide to the exam, right? They are telling you exactly what you need to be successful in this job. They're telling you the specific qualifications and skills that they want to see in a candidate. So you have the guide right there to what they're looking for. So think about where do your skills and abilities match that? And how can you show that those are true, right? So you can say, oh, I'm really good at communication. Or you can say, I'm really good at communication. For example, when I studied abroad, right, I had to communicate with people who didn't share a language with me. Here's how I navigated that, and here's how I improved that skill. So you do want to give sort of concrete examples to prove and show your skills rather than just tell them. And stories are a great way to do that. Interviewing really is just good storytelling at the end of the day. Practice the STAR method. So this is when answering a question, what's called like a behavioral question, which is tell me about a time when you did this, or give me an example of when you navigated a challenge or something like that. You basically answer that question starting with the situation at large, what the specific task you were working on was, what your action was. So not like what maybe the whole group did, but what you specifically did, and the result of that. So really, this is again just taking them through the story beginning to end. So the situation was I was on my study abroad trip in Mexico, right? The task was we were trying to navigate this language barrier, right? The action that I took was to do this, and here's how it panned out. So that was an example of you navigating a challenging situation. And then Big Interview is a resource that we have. I'll put that in the link as well, to record practice interviews and get feedback. So it's kind of like an automated system. You can watch videos that just kind of show you like, hey, best ways to answer common interview questions. But you can also record yourself answering those questions and play it back and practice that way. You can also schedule a mock interview at the Career Center, of course. So I do want to pause for a couple of questions in the chat. The first one says, I'm graduating this year. Are there any resources for abroad internships and research that accepts graduates? So I will say, in terms of like international job boards, Going Global is a really good one, especially if you know like which country you want to be in. So if you access Going Global Handshake, so you click Career Center, or resources, and then Going Global, you get full access to Going Global, like because we pay for it, not just. It's a little more access than what you would find on the web on your own, but they have specific job boards for different countries. Ellie or Kim, do you have any others that come to mind?
In specifics with global seminars, you can participate in a global seminars as a graduating senior. So there's two options. The cheaper option would be if you just speak with your college advisor and technically graduate in the summer, but that's when you'll finish your degree. You could still walk in the spring. You could still complete a global seminars after you've graduated. You'll just be paying the tuition as a non-UC student since you've already graduated. So there's two options for that. And there is a global seminars that is an internship. So that is another way with that. And then I'll let Kim speak to UCAP for
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, similar to global seminars, students do have the option to walk and then complete a program either in the summer or even fall, and then officially graduate. And so it is a possibility. But if you are going to graduate and be done and not be a UC student anymore, there are still opportunities for students. Like a lot of the providers that run the Opportunities Abroad programs, it's not an issue for them if you already have a degree. If they have a program you're offering that you want to do, they would be happy to have you. So that's a possibility. There are also programs like Teaching Abroad, Teaching English Abroad, which are formal programs like JET, which is the Japan Education Teaching Program through the Japanese government. There are a couple of others in some different countries if you want to go and teach English, which is a great way just to gain some general skills that can be applied to a number of different careers, and it's paid. So there definitely are opportunities for recent graduates, and some of that information is on our website, but is also something that we can share with you. The other thing that I wanted to share is that fewer than 10% of all U.S. undergraduates study abroad at all. So the fact that you've done this or that you're going to do this, have this experience already distinguishes you in a resume pool. And so, so it can be something that is very, very much a unique experience that can really help you with the job and then job search. And then I also want to put in a plug for career services. We usually hear from them. Most students wait till they're seniors to go visit them, but I really encourage you to go visit career services as soon as you want to, as soon as possible, even if you're a freshman, to see what they can offer you and help you as you work through your degree here in the process. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that plug, Kim. And I'll just kind of echo that. I myself, when I was a senior, did not access the Career Center until I was about to graduate. I think like a week before graduation. And I really wish I had used a different strategy, because so often I meet with students in their first or second year. And at that point, we're able to plan, what do you want to do during your time in college to best set you up for your career goals? Versus it's hard to get that experience retroactively, right? So having someone kind of do some planning ahead of time, and it doesn't have to be completely set in stone. It can be flexible. You know, what are the types of experiences that you want to look for? What are some general goals you have to set? I would say checking in at least once a year, but I would also recommend at least once a quarter, just to say like, hey, here's what I've done. Here's what I'm planning to do next. Am I on the right track? Super helpful. You know, and I tell students all the time, this is a resource that you're already paying for. It's included in your tuition, right? So please do use it. We put on a ton of events every quarter to try to help you all be successful and really ease this transition out of college, which is can be a challenging transition, right? You've been in school for a really long time, so that transition out of college can definitely be challenging, and we want to support you through that. So yes, don't wait until graduation week. Come see us earlier than that. Thank you for your questions. Yeah, keep asking questions in the chat, because we do have time to answer them. So just jumping back to interviewing really quickly, I just included a sample interview response in here and some examples of those behavioral questions that I mentioned that you might see come up in an interview. So please share an example of being flexible or adaptable. Can you tell us about a time you navigated a challenging situation? How have your past experiences prepared you for this role? Right, these are questions that you could see across any industry. All employers value someone with these skills, right? No matter the industry. So this is an example of how you could answer one of those questions. My experience living in Ecuador enhanced my ability to communicate and interact effectively with the local population and people with a different background than my own. I was able to create meaningful connections through empathy, active listening, and respect. I also learned to be open-minded, adaptable, and flexible, which I believe will help me in this role. Some things I want to point out here is it's not as generic as I studied abroad, so I'm more prepared. You're actually naming the specific skills that you gained and how you gained those skills. So this is something that I would practice. If you're preparing for an interview, actually write down like, what is the things that you want to share from this experience? What specific stories can you share? What specific skills can you name? I've been interviewing for many years, and I always create an interview prep document for myself. I sometimes call it my hype document, because it's like, okay, what are the things I'm really great at, right? What are the things I want them to know? So absolutely actually go through the process of writing some of this down, reflecting on your experience and figuring out what you want to share from it.
All right. Thank you so much, Madigan. That was very insightful. And as just to highlight again how important it is to utilize the Career Center, because you could have all these amazing experiences, but if you can't communicate it the right way to the employer, then it's a lost opportunity for both. So it's really great to have that resource to help you find a way to best communicate and highlight all the great skills and experiences that you have. So in terms of next steps, if you're interested in studying abroad and haven't yet, or you're interested in doing another program, then we'd highly encourage you to explore the Study Abroad website and look through the different programs, and then attend the next steps session, and then we have drop-in advising hours, so you can meet with an advisor, and we have advisors that are specialized in certain countries. So or if you want to meet with a financial aid advisor, just you can go to our front desk at the Triton terminal. We have students there Monday through Friday from 8 to 4:30 or 8 to 4, 8:45 to 4. And yeah, and then also we would recommend meeting with the career services as well. I don't know if Madigan, if you have any other information for students that they need to do to meet with an advisor, or.
Yeah, I can talk through that. So all of you should have a Handshake account. And I'm going to share an event as well, which I think is on maybe the next slide. But if you have a Handshake account, which you all should, Handshake really is where all of the Career Center career development stuff on campus is housed. So probably you all have maybe looked at the jobs tab on Handshake. All on-campus jobs are posted on Handshake. But if you have used the jobs tab, also just pay attention to the Career Center tab and the events tab as well. So in the Career Center tab, that's where you can access some of those resources I mentioned, and that some of those are paid for, so you actually have to access them through Handshake. That's also where you can click make an appointment. So you'll be aligned based on sort of your academic area to which career consultant advisor you get to meet with. Or you can always reach, if you know someone, you can always reach out via email and say, hey, I met you in this answer employability, your elevate your employability, presentation, would love to meet with you. And I'd be happy to meet with anyone across majors. And then the events tab, also keep an eye. We're hosting stuff all quarter long, every quarter, really designed to help you be successful and also connect you with some folks in industry. So we have alumni come back to talk. We have employers coming to recruit. And then Ellie, if you can go to the next slide. I'm not sure if it's the next one or the one after that. Okay, you talk about, I was gonna say, you can talk about your events first. But we do have career fairs coming up tomorrow and Thursday, and then next week as well. So career fairs, if anyone's been, or if you've heard of it, I was pretty intimidated by career fairs when I was undergrad, but I really wish I would have gone to more. It's such a unique opportunity where employers actually come to campus, not physically, it's virtual right now, but to find you, right? And I think so often when you're job searching, it feels like you're sending your materials into the abyss and you're like, somebody please read my resume, please read my cover letter. This is an opportunity for you to talk directly to a recruiter that wants to recruit you as a UCSD student. So absolutely take advantage of this. They're all in the events tab and they're separated, as you can see, by industry area. Even if there's a company that you're like, I'm not sure if that's the right fit for me, go to a group session. All you're doing is just learning about it and hearing more. There's really no downside. And if you have questions about the career fair, please let me know. But you do have to sign up for sessions in Handshake, and the entire fair takes place in Handshake.
Great. Thank you, Madigan. And then in terms of study abroad, as Kim mentioned, we have ongoing scholarship writing workshops. So these are really great to attend to help you develop a really powerful and valuable essays for your scholarships. And usually if you just have a really great template, you can kind of tweak it for a bunch of different scholarships. So once you have that really great base, it's good for applying to many scholarships, just kind of tweaking it a little bit in regards to what the scholarship is. And then in terms of global seminars, we have ongoing information sessions. We have some this week, next week, throughout winter quarter of all the upcoming programs. So I just encourage you to check the Global Seminars website of interested programs or the study abroad calendar to see all of our upcoming events. I don't know if there's any missing.
Well, there's another question in the chat that I wanted to take a stab at an answer, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh, sure. So we had a graduate student who was asking about access to programs as a grad student. So that's a really good question. So yes, graduate students do have access to most EAP programs, actually. And I think could do a global seminar if they wanted to, although those are undergraduate courses. Certainly OAP, Global Exchange, some of the internship and research opportunities are for graduate students with the Global Exchange agreement. So yes. Most graduate students will find that like the EAP coursework, which is predominantly geared for undergrads, is not going to be the kind of coursework that graduate students need. That's not necessarily across the board, but it can be. The more common example of a grad student we have going on EAP is for language study, but that doesn't mean that if you're in a particular discipline, you couldn't find one. But yes, graduate students can do that, and we're happy to help with that. And so again, those other options exist as well. So yes, there are opportunities that we do have for grads, even though we focus predominantly on undergraduate students. So I hope that was a little bit helpful.
Great, thank you, Kim.
Perfect. And then definitely stick around if you have questions. The three of us will stick around for a bit. We have time. But please just answer this quick survey if you can. I just put it in the chat. Hopefully that link works better than the check-in link. It's only 5 quick questions, should take you less than 2 minutes, but it's mostly just for us to know what do you all want to hear, what will be helpful. And we obviously, it is our job to help you all have the best experience you can and get all the information that you need. So please let us know what information you're seeking, and then we can do our best to support that. So thank you for being here. Hope to see some of you at the Career Center. Hope to see some of you go abroad and have that great experience as well. And we'll stick around for a couple minutes.
Thanks, Madigan. It's like we have some Chat. Thank you.
Lots
Thank
of
you
people
all.
putting in thank yous, which is really nice.
Yeah, that's so great. Thanks, everyone.
Oh, where can the recording?
The recording, we should be able to get it to our website after we just do some editing to it, hopefully in the next week or two.
And I should say too, we're going to be adding information about career resources to our website. So this section is coming, and so you will find that there shortly as well. And thanks, Ellie and Madigan, for the partnership.